All
Looks
right.
like
So
it's,
is it up?
looks like it.
All right. See, you're the man. You're watching that stuff. Gentlemen, first and foremost, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
How we doing? Let's go around the block here, right, and kind of introduce who you are to our listeners. We'll start with Lenny, then go Jay, then go to Owen.
Yeah, man. Well, my name is Lenny Eckstein. I'm with Deer Hammer Distillery. We're way out in Buena Vista, Colorado, where things don't really feel all that different. And yeah.
Obviously, though, you're quarantined, or not quarantined, but you're sheltering in place down there.
I'm sheltering at our Barrel Rack house.
Okay, how's that going?
It's going quite nice. It's there's worse places to be stuck.
I was gonna say, yeah, for sure. Jay Johnson, can you introduce yourself? Oh, hold on, damn it, there we go.
Jay Johnson, one of the owners at Bear Creek Distillery here in Denver, Colorado.
And how are you doing, pal?
I'm good, man. No complaints.
How's
Cooking a lot. Been these virtual happy hours are killing me. I'm gonna be dead before this thing.
No doubt.
Oh my God, I know, it's crazy. Somebody pointed out yesterday, we were talking, I can't remember who it was. It's they're easier to drink more because you don't have to worry about driving. You're just doing it at home anyway.
Well,
So
for sure. Like last night, we went from howling at the moon on the back patio to it like being 2 a.m. like that. And I was like, how did that happen?
I know that you're home with kids. Lenny, do you have kids?
Yeah, my kid's sitting about 10 feet from me, and like any good parent, I've got him in front of an iPad watching cartoons at the moment.
That's yeah, I was going to ask everybody, how's that going? How's the homeschooling going?
Horrible.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
No, it's a fucking pain in the ass.
Brutal. I think it's getting better. I think we're all getting kind of used to it. But it's a challenge teaching like 2 subjects to 2 different kids. It's no like hands-off time, right?
So what are you doing, you guys? Do you have like a set schedule that you're trying to do the parenting or the teaching, or is it just kind of when they need an iPad, you give them an iPad? Because we're kind of, Catherine, my wife, is doing everything. I'm just down in the basement actually trying to work. So I don't know. And I know for you in particular, you're doing all of it, right? Because your wife's a healthcare worker, right? Or doing a shitload of stuff with healthcare.
Yeah, she's in the healthcare industry, and she does, even before all this, at-home healthcare stuff for people with cardiovascular issues. So her company's been busier than ever. So I've been, at home as much as possible with the kids, trying to figure that out, doing that kind of mostly during the day, and then working in the afternoons and evenings, trying to hustle and get things done when we can. But that's kind of the schedule, but you kind of have a framework and kind of go from there.
Jay, what about you? How old are your kids?
So my kids are a little bit older, 20, 18, 14, 3 girls. Okay. And nice. My 20-year-old, if she came for me to help, I couldn't help her anyway. And I'm just to the point, like, what's parenting, right? We're all living in the same house together. No one's dead, So I think we're winning in general. My 14-year-old just turned 14 the other night and asked if she could have a mimosa with dinner, and I almost let her. So that makes me a bad parent. Then I guess I'm a bad parent, but more of the European model over here at the Johnson house.
No, I think this is terrible. My 7-year-old got halfway through a hard kombucha on Saturday before we realized it was a hard kombucha. So that was
nice.
Yeah. She slept really well. Yeah. It was great, but no particular order here. I guess, Owen, why don't you introduce yourself for those who don't know you, and then we'll kind of ask some questions and have some drinks and see how things are going.
Sure. Owen Locke here, one of the co-founders of Locke & Co. Distilling.
So, gents, obviously, I think craft beer in Colorado is getting most of the front page news. You can make comments about that if you want, what have you. But I know, the craft spirit scene in Colorado is just as good in terms of it's the product made. So what are you all seeing individually, and what are you all sharing with each other in terms of market, in terms of outlook, in terms of what you've experienced over the last month? And no particular order, just jump in.
Yeah, so for us, we didn't have a tasting room set up yet. Still new to the game. So For us, we didn't have some of those challenges, and I think that was just something different that we didn't have to deal with. So, talking with the beer guys, the other distilleries out there, I know that was heartbreaking to deal with. So, fortunately for us, we didn't have to deal with that. So it's more, and how do we support the communities? How do we stay relevant out there, and try to push all that cocktail business, all the restaurant business that we've lost, is how do you try to maintain that and support those people, and try to maintain all those contacts when everybody's kind of dispersed like this. It's pretty difficult.
How about you guys?
Go for it, Jay.
Well, our a big part of our model is our tasting room. I mean, we push that cocktail experience very hard. So when that came through, that we were shut down, that was it was a pretty mighty blow. But with that being said, our sales team's out there keeping off-prem primed and running. But to sort of echo what Owen was saying, a lot of these people, that part of our industry in general, tracking people down in the on-prem world is sometimes hard, and you work really, really hard to develop these relationships, and then inevitably the bar manager who's in charge of the cocktail program moves to another restaurant, and then you try to track him down over there, and then he's moved to another restaurant. So I think as a whole, this is just sort of a wrinkle for us, because we all have to do that. And it's just, it's another hurdle. If life gets back to normal, I think you're going to see the bar and restaurant scene come out like gangbusters, like we've never seen it before, because people want to get out and have that experience. So looking forward to that.
I'll let Lenny answer this next one, but I want to know before I forget, do you all think that the kind of spirits business is a little bit more equipped to kind of ride this out than the craft beer business, just the nature of the product? Lenny,
Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah. Well, I think the nature of whiskey in general, with beer, it's a quick turnaround. That's something that I think us as distillers and whiskey makers, we're typically envious of. But in this sort of situation where there's a shelf life on most beers, it's not an ideal situation, but the longer we wait, the better our stuff gets anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's nice. And, with regards to everything that's going on, as far as it affects us, it's, we just brought in a new still, and as it happens to be, the install was nowhere near as smooth as I thought. So our tasting room being shut down is ideal, because there's like copper and wires and tools and nonsense everywhere, and it's taking a long time. So it's kind of good, and the summer's our busy season anyway, so we're kind of weathering it all right.
Awesome. Rick Talley, welcome to the show, buddy. Good to see you. How you doing? You good?
Doing good, hanging tough like everyone, doing what we can to make it through. And I normally work from home anyway, so it's not that much different. And my wife and I were joking that our lifestyle, we don't go out a whole lot, so like the stay in place isn't terribly different. So
Okay.
we're doing pretty good. We don't have kids, we don't have that struggle. But as the other guys are talking about, struggling with the sales on the business side, but as far as being home and on the personal side, we're doing pretty good.
I'm assuming you miss hockey quite a bit, though.
I was doing the math. I think last night would have been game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs for the Avalanche. So that's that's
God, I miss hockey.
Yeah,
it's rough. What do you, knowing that you're out there kind of, pounding the pavement a lot, even now, Rick, what are you hearing from liquor stores in terms of how are sales across the board? Are they up? Are they down? Are people in? How are deliveries? How are to-go orders? What are you hearing from those partners out there?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of liquor stores, the last couple of weeks, they were up because of kind of the hoarding and the stockpiling, and it was more of the lower end stuff. So not as much of the products that, some of the craft distillers are like us are making, us all are making. But now they're down, but they're still having sales, but it's not as much of the premium stuff as it has been, just because, people stockpiled a couple of weeks ago, the cheaper stuff, and now we're coming out and, slowly buying, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely down. They didn't give me a percentage wise, but luckily liquor stores are deemed essential businesses. So we all can still make sales, which is great for all of us as small distillers, right?
Jay, what are you seeing? Knowing that you have a few products on the shelf, I know Lenny does too. But are you the same kind of thing in terms of numbers?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So we have the 10 spirits in our lineup, and we've definitely seen an uptick in our vodka and our rum. So those are our most affordable end of the spectrum. So those are moving really well. But from what my guys are telling me at Argonaut, for instance, they do a great job of putting a lot of the Colorado stuff right up front by the front door, and that's still full. And then you walk and turn around the corner, and it's handles of Tito's, it's Bullet, it's stuff that's walking out the door that way, and we'll see how long this goes, but I know everyone's very budget conscious, and we are here at my house as well. But sort of to echo what Lenny said, our whiskey's only getting better right now. And so, we've made some big moves this year. We got a new rack house, which is always sort of the progression for people like us. And we were getting pretty close to getting through the city on that. And unfortunately, we obviously have that setback, but I expect us to come out bigger, badder than ever.
Yeah, makes sense. Lenny, what have you had to do with your employees, knowing that you have a tasting room? Have you obviously laid them off? Are you trying to get them hours? What do you?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, I mean, maybe at risk of being too optimistic in kind of a not circumstance, time for us. Our real busy season of the tasting room kicks in around like May, June. And right now, we have a few full-time bartenders, but we've got plenty of work to put them, to like painting and getting stuff ready for the spring. And a few of our bartenders double as production help. So we just have them in there mashing or bottling. And it's working out pretty well. If this had hit in June, I'd be flipping tables, but it's what it is. And I'm hoping it subsides soon. We're doing all right.
What about you, Jay? I mean, I know you guys got a lot of folks on staff too. What have you had to do?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of our part-time help, what they did was take care of the tasting room. So no tasting room, unfortunately. But they've all had invitations to come back when this comes through. And a lot of them will. But, it's difficult. We haven't ever had a lot of turnover. So we are like family. So that's been difficult, not seeing a lot of the same people throughout this. But we've managed to keep the sales guys, and then Jeff and Dylan and Jake have been able to maintain the production in the back. So they're still distilling rum and whiskey and putting it in barrels and bottles and labels. And so those guys, it's pretty much business as usual for them back there.
Okay. Owen, you and I have talked a little bit about this, but obviously everybody, you folks in your industry are at a little bit of a disadvantage, or at least you're kind of a different commodity versus craft beer, and how craft beer has been treated over the last 3 weeks by the state of Colorado. What are you guys trying to do in order to keep sales up, not just in liquor stores? Are you doing the kind of pre-mixed cocktail stuff with some partners? I know that you're selling some bottles through a partner or two out there that usually does wine. What else are you kind of trying to figure out?
Yeah, I think that's, kind of the key is everybody's got to get creative right here and see, work with, the previous on-premise account to see if they can sell bottles, try to work through avenues like that. I think that's going to be key. And I think Jay's spot on. Whenever it gets lifted, to be with those on-premise accounts, I think things are going to be really kind of taken off. People will be wanting to get out and get that experience. And I think that's kind of what, similarities we all have is kind of that contact, that connection, being at the liquor store, being at the tasting room, being at the restaurant, sharing that story, that experience. Is how do you keep that story going and that connection? And I think once that opens back up, we'll get a lot more of that, but just to keep it with those accounts, right? So those account managers, those buyers, connecting with them as much as possible to try to take care of them as the industry, and then doing fun things on the sides, like cocktails on social media and bringing some levity where you can, just to kind of keep the community in touch and kind of uplifted, but kind of from top to bottom, letting everybody know that you're still there and thinking about them, I think is the main goal.
Jay, what are you guys doing in terms of that, the the continual kind of awareness, the brand awareness and such? I know that you're kind of on top of that for BCD. So what are you trying to do?
Well, we launched our YouTube. We launched a YouTube channel, sort of a DIY cocktail making program. So Megan, who runs the tasting room for us, is super great at doing demos for cocktails. So we thought it would be a great idea to go ahead and capitalize on that by making, videos to put on YouTube. Super heavy duty on the social media. We're getting our 2 posts in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 2 at night. So we're staying pretty active there. My team of sales guys, they're out as much as they can. They're getting a bit of blowback from some of the bigger box stores. They don't want to see you. They'll email you if they need something, but I'm worried. My concern is, I know you guys over at Lock & Co. and of course Lenny, because I see him out there. These summertime events are, if we're going to even be able to have them, they're not going to let us sample. So sort of to echo what Owen said, really getting yourself out there and building these connections with your customer base is absolutely huge. It's a way to do it with minimal cost. And it's really, you're able to sell yourself even more than your product. And without us doing that, I feel like that's going to hurt a little bit, especially Colorado's super focused on, the outdoor festival, beer fest, lots. I mean, we've had, I don't know, guys, I probably have already had 6 events cancel that we had on the calendar already. So that's going to hurt.
So when you say that you won't be able to sample, what do you mean?
So,
why would there be a festival? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we do end up having any sort of festival where we can sell bottles, or a farmer's market or something like that, from all the guidelines that I've seen come through, we won't be able to actually let them sample the spirit.
Wow.
As far as, just flattening the curve or whatever it is. So like Stills in the Hills has already been canceled. The 2 farmers markets we were going to do canceled. 303 Cocktails, Grilled Cheese Fest. Haven't heard anything about Whiskey and Donuts yet, but if you can't taste and you can't sell, I mean, these festivals, there's really no reason for them.
Shit. What's going on down your way, Lenny? Just out of curiosity. I mean, same kind of thing, I would assume, right? There's a lot going on down Buena Vista way during the summer. Are you seeing a lot of cancellations?
We're definitely seeing cancellations on the early side of the summer, and definitely a lot of optimism that maybe things will work out. I think no one really quite wants to talk about it or accept it, but we know that live music isn't going to be a thing. So that's kind of a bummer, because that's kind of part of the vibe of hanging out in the mountains and going camping. There's definitely a few festivals like the Rapids and Grass Fest. That's on July 4th. And, so far, I think we're kind of hanging in there. The folks who run that are with the Jailhouse Craft Beer Bar. I think no one wants to pull the plug preemptively. Maybe we've got a town full of optimists, but we're all kind of thinking like maybe come June and July, outside stuff will be okay. So we're hoping for that. A big thing for us, I mean, we get a ton of traffic in our tasting room at the distillery for tours by people who are coming up to really enjoy the outdoors and primarily go rafting. So another big one that no one really wants to talk about up our way at this point is, do rafting companies get to operate? Can they shuttle busloads of people to the top of the put-in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about them not operating, because that'd be terrible.
Shit.
So,
So do you, okay, knowing that, do you ramp out, I guess in your head, are you trying to think, I need to ramp up kind of in-store sales to counter that? I mean, what do you even think at night when you're trying to fall asleep?
God, man, I'm pretty good at like blowing all of it off, and maybe that's not responsible, but we look at it and we kind of view it as a situation where, as mentioned earlier, the whiskey only gets better. So even if we get skunked this summer, which would be horrendous, at that point we would have to lay some people off. But you know, we'll get by unless this turns into, you know, a Walking Dead style zombie apocalypse. We're all in, you know, like whenever it rolls around, it rolls around. You know, we can wait it out, and you know,
You've got
we're
the
already.
whiskey to trade for bullets.
Yeah, that's for sure. I've already talked to folks about that. And yeah, and we're kind of using this time also to evaluate like what's our release schedule going to look like, you know, as things ease up. You know, we've got some cool new stuff coming out. I've been fighting all day with the TTB on a bottled and bond label for our bourbon, which is always awesome, fighting with the government. But yeah, you know, I think things up here, you know, we'll see. We're all kind of hanging in there, just waiting, and we've been selling a lot of gift cards, so that's
Okay.
cool.
That
Good
is good.
support from the community. Yeah.
Owen, you've been trying to say something for a while. What were you? What are you trying to say? Sorry, buddy. I keep cutting you off.
Oh, no. I think it's, just in line with everybody else. If we don't have those festivals. Hi, Jay. How you doing, buddy? I don't think we can hear you.
No, he's muted himself for a good reason.
Good. But no, I think, what Jay was saying and Lenny, if we do lose all these festivals or even, in-store tasting opportunities at liquor stores, it's going to be a big challenge for all of us, to share that story. As Jay was saying, you're selling yourself as much as you are the product.
Jay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Pretty tragic for a lot of the.
Oh shit! Sorry, Owen, you were cutting out. My bad.
Oh, all good.
That's the beauty of Zoom. There we go. Okay, perfect. Jay, welcome to the show, pal. Good to see you. Can you hear us? He can't hear us. Fantastic. Jay Schrader, not Jay Johnson. So now he's muted himself. Okay. I guess Owen and Rick, you're a partnership here on the show. Debo and the other Jay. Who's your other partner? Jay Johnson. Who's the third guy? I've never met him.
Jeff Dickinson.
Jeff Dickinson. Okay.
He's in charge of all of our production.
Okay, and then Lenny, is it you and your wife?
Yeah, that's right, Amy. Yeah, just us, and then we've got a tight crew. Otherwise.
So I guess we'll start with Owen and Rick, and if anybody else wants to jump in, how are you two kind of conversing through this? Like, how are you remaining calm and communicating with each other and strategizing and game playing and all of that? Because I assume that you're on the phone with each other at least once a day, if not more.
Go for it, Rick.
Yeah. So obviously, we're each working from our individual homes. Yeah, we're on the phone at least 2 or 3 times a day. But it's balancing, learning how to kind of relearn how to communicate with these accounts. The first couple of weeks, it seemed like they didn't really want much contact because they're kind of trying to figure out their staff, their operations, with that huge surge of kind of the stockpiling purchasing, they didn't really want to hear from us. But now we're kind of starting to see that change to where we're needing to reach out to the account. So it's kind of getting back to not business as usual, but communication as usual, to where they are fielding our phone calls. They're not getting annoyed, with the exception of some of the big box stores where they send out communications like, we don't want to hear from you. We'll let you know when we want an order, let those lie. But the other ones, it's kind of nice that when, this week I've been calling them and chatting with the accounts, and they've been receptive to that. So, Owen and I are kind of going through our customer resource management tools that we have set up and just contacting the accounts, trying to easy play it. We don't want to come across pushy. We don't want to annoy the accounts because, it all comes back to, as we all been talking about, that relationship piece. So, it's not, we're missing each other. We're missing like being able to sit next to each other and have that communication just every day, every minute. But we're doing okay through the telecommunication piece with the account part. So as far as our partnership goes, it's been tough not being with each other every day. I miss that piece a lot.
Yeah. Why were these big box stores, why are they saying they don't want to hear from you? Were there just a lot of smaller venues, smaller distilleries, smaller craft beer brewers being rather annoying, or what is that?
That's a good question. My assumption was that some of the sales reps for some of these other companies were going in and kind of pestering them and going in when they shouldn't be, towards the beginning of it, where again, the liquor stores are trying to get their feet underneath them, figure out their internal processes of how to manage the customer flow. And they just didn't want that extra excess flow of reps coming in and bothering them when they're like, hey, we're just trying to figure this out for ourselves right now.
Rick, when you guys are working on accounts, I assume that you're prioritizing liquor stores versus restaurants only because of the limited ability for them to sell booze right now.
We're actually just going after restaurants.
Just restaurants, really? Somehow that seems like it would be backfiring unless you're trying to offer bottle service.
No,
It's pretty much exclusively liquor stores. Obviously, we're trying to maintain those relationships with some of those key on-premise accounts, but since most of them are operating, or all of them are operating on a skeleton crew, they're just trying to get to-go orders out the door, so they don't want to hear from us. So we're pretty much not communicating with the liquor store, the bars and restaurants, and focusing just on the liquor stores.
Gotcha. Okay. Loaded question, super easy. I'm pitching water bottles today, watermelons today.
Do you have any other questions, Jay Schrader, that you would like to ask? Since you've had a real job and now you're chiming in on the conversation.
Oh man, I was fucking losing my mind. First of all, on my other conference call, because I had a beer and a whiskey ready to go, and shit got real fast on this call. I was just like texting everybody, crank it up here. Let's wrap this shit up. I got shit to do. I texted a picture of my drinks to my boss so he would speed it up.
What were you drinking?
Fair enough.
Well, today I have a Lock & Co. neat. I have a 90 shilling on deck, and there is a Bear Creek Distillery rum that I think will be coming in third after all this. If I
line them up.
Yeah.
So no Deer Hammer. We were supposed to be drinking with Lenny like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah,
It was a year before this happened. Damn it!
I know.
Oh my God.
I almost considered it essential business. But.
Yeah, right. Yes, but I think that Tivoli had shut down by then. I think, man, they're going through some weird shit because the Auraria campus they have to follow their rules. So Tivoli can't sell any beer out the door because the campus won't let them.
Really?
Yeah, really. Campus is pretty much shut down. I can't go into my office. I can't go get my computer. Nothing. They're cleaning everything up because they've had a few cases of people who've been reported positive for coronavirus on campus. But you can go get a test there, I guess, if you want your coronavirus test.
You cannot do that in Buena Vista.
What? How big is Buena Vista? I've been there once, but it's not that big, right? It's tiny.
I mean, it's like 2,800 people. But in our whole county, I don't know, maybe 8,000, 10,000, but not really any testing. Kind of weird.
Nothing going on down there. Oh my God, it's fucking
a lot of mountain biking.
Social distance naturally, though.
That's right.
Yeah. It's the way to do it for sure. Jay Johnson, candid question, maybe a candid anser with the new rack house coming.
I thought it was Charlie Blackman on the call today.
Yeah, I flew back from Arizona.
Yeah, right. Are you guys? Do you sweat the new property purchase now? Are you feeling okay about it? I mean, I know it's a really
fine.
Okay. Yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah. No. What were you talking about? Yeah, of course. It's really. Speaking from our perspective, it really felt like this was it. Like, okay, this rack house, we're going to be able to go out of state. It really seemed like, okay, here it comes. And then this whole thing hit. So, we're in an okay position. We'll weather the storm.
Yeah.
But it sucks. We first started on this project, and I'd sold my shares of my pest control company back to my father-in-law and getting through everything. I was unemployed for a year. People say not working is just totally awesome. I couldn't do it. I have trouble not moving forward. So this holding pattern for me is PBR and whiskey are the only thing that are going to get me through that and trying to stay fit.
The amount of alcohol I've been drinking over the last 3 weeks is terrible. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one. You guys are all nodding your head. Like, it's just crazy. I mean, everybody.
I looked down
rehab clinics.
Yes, no shit. Yes, no kidding.
Hey, Owen, I need to do a trade with you. I was looking through my whiskey. I don't have a bottle of your stuff.
Let's do it. Let's get it done.
Yeah, I was looking through. I've got Lenny's stuff. Man, I have stuff has anybody seen one of these in a while?
Is that the
Double diamond?
sherry cask finish?
That's their double diamond rye whiskey cask strength.
Ooh, nice.
Wow.
So
Look at
Chad
that.
gave
Where
me
the hell's
that
that?
baby.
Nice.
It is, in my opinion, Downslope is probably one of the most underrated distilleries in this town. Those guys make some good
Yeah.
booze down here.
I'm trying to figure out, is Jay Johnson just got his phone propped up against a bottle, like, and you're sitting right in front of your fucking liquor cabinet?
Actually, I just have a few bottles.
Okay.
Nice.
Just support the local guys.
Lining them up. That's all right. I'm okay with that. I just was worried that you were sitting there
They're
waiting
right
to
at the
just, yeah.
No,
Everybody's got to get creative, not only on what they're drinking, what they're eating, but where they're drinking, right? We had cocktails in the garage yesterday because it was too hot.
There you go.
So, yeah, you got to find something else to do. But
garage bar, patio bar, basement bar, kitchen table bar.
shower
bar
beers, shower beers.
Are you guys,
sure.
have you reverted to drinking outside, like on your sidewalks with neighbors at 6 feet away, of course?
I certainly have, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
don't
I
like my
always did
neighbors.
that. No. Okay. I like a few of them. I don't like most of them. But I've been getting a lot of invitations to come hang out in driveways and drink whiskey.
That's
But
what
people
should
know
be
I have
happening.
the whiskey, so they always are inviting me. I'm
Yeah,
like, how about you
exactly.
come
True.
down here and bring some beer?
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually have a pretty.
No, you go, Lenny. You're good.
I was-
Nobody gives
I
a
was-
shit about what I have to say.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if it makes sense to say like per capita, but there's a lot of alcohol production that goes on, amongst homeowners on my street. Of course, my wife and I live on our street, and Deerhammer makes a lot of whiskey. But 3 doors up, the owner of Elevation Brewing is right there. As
Oh,
well.
okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we almost had the owner of Eddie Line move to our street, so that would have been possibly the most alcohol produced in this street.
That would have been the fucking coolest block on the neighborhood.
I
That-
think so.
maybe the country. That's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You guys all seem so much more upbeat than when we talk to brewers, quite honestly.
We're
Stuff
smarter
like
I mean-
octane.
Well, and I think time is a factor of that too. Like
Yeah.
like when we were talking the other day, Sam, it was like a day after there was prohibition in Denver, right? Things were
Oh, that
changing
sucks.
so quickly. It was like, what's going to happen the next day? So I think people we're like, okay, this is how it works for this time period. Is kind of where we settled into. But I think like everybody's saying, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of roller coasters every day. It's a matter of survival, and part of that survival is like everybody's talking about. Half a bottle of whiskey and 3 IPAs every night, and you're like, okay, we made it to 1 a.m. again. How did this happen? I think that's like how a lot of us are trying to get through it and cope with. Like Jay, you're trying to like do what I'm doing. I went for a jog today.
I rode the station
False.
like 8 miles.
False. I would like to see a video, please. A video. We're gonna
I
need
did
that video.
donuts at the end of the run.
Just he went for a brisk.
You look like you're ready to go fly fishing.
No, I'm ready. I said, I got the safety. You got to be safe.
Yeah, you got to wear your mask. I
Oh.
guarantee if any one of you distilleries could get buffs branded with your distillery logo on them right now, they would be hot sellers because that's way easier to get a hold of than fucking N95 masks.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but like have a hole in there for a straw. Maybe
My-
purpose.
My
defeat-
boss
I don't know.
made on his 3D printer, he made his own mask. And then I told him, I was like, hey, the Army has gas masks that you can drink through. And he went back and redesigned his whole thing and started over. So everybody's coming up with something these days.
Hey Jay,
But my kids.
what material did they use? I was wondering about that last night on the 3D print.
Shit. I don't know.
Did-
I'll have to ask him. I can get the info for you. I thought
No,
he was
it's
just
okay.
using plastic, but
My wife's a microbiologist, so she it's about 8 weeks ago now. She came home and she said, we're going to the store. And I said, what for? And she's like, this is the one. And she's never been like Chicken Little or anything. And I was like, Mama says this is the one. Let's go.
Why is
but
she not on this interview and not you?
She's much prettier than I am. She has
This
a
is
lot
an
more
ugly
important
crew.
information.
The
to
bar.
say.
That's a low bar. That's a low bar.
I am low hanging fruit, sir. The definition.
Jay Johnson had nothing to do this afternoon, so that's why he's on here. She's probably actually working.
Now that we,
today she's off, so that's why we were up till fucking 2 a.m. last night.
how does I mean, obviously the crew of you, there's a sense of camaraderie that I can kind of sense, and I'm sure Jay Schrader can sense. And I know that craft beer in this town, there's a ton of camaraderie, but what makes craft distilleries, craft spirits in Colorado so unique to the rest of the country? Is it that same sense of kind of brotherhood? Is it the uniqueness of each taste? What is it?
I think there's a lot of things. I mean, for one, there's so much room for, I hate to say innovation because that's kind of a blank word, but in beer, God, I love beer, but they seem to be trying to like out hazy each other or,
Oh yeah.
like we don't have to do that. Like there's so much room for us to do our thing and like put our own thumbprint on our expression of, Colorado whiskey that I think we all can appreciate each other's craft and it's all so different.
And I'll expand on that with very few exceptions. Nobody's a dick. Like everybody that I've met throughout the years doing the distillery thing are genuinely pretty good people. And so that makes it easy.
Whiskey drinkers are a different breed. Is that what you're saying?
To add on a little bit more, it's what was that?
No, you're
Somebody's
good.
Wi-Fi is cutting out. It's got to be the guys in Wash Park. DPS went back to school this week for the first time, and internet is shit all over the city of Denver.
I was going to cut in and say most people in whiskey are good except for Debo. So
right, he's not here to defend himself.
Exactly. Yes,
that's his fault.
Owen, what were you going to say?
I think it's kind of to just keep adding on. I think the distilling world, the whiskey world in Colorado is still a rising tide out there. Right? There's still a lot of room, still a lot of education for the consumer. So it's kind of like a rising tide floats all boats, still kind of like collaboration. People want to share, people want to help each other out, including helping the beer guys out, and I think that we play off them, they play off us, but there's, as Lenny was saying, there's almost more room for us at this point in time. Just, it's not as mature of a market yet. So I think there's still that creativity, that expansion that we're all riding.
What about you, Rick?
Yeah, similar to what Lenny was saying, with breweries, like I'm amazed, like when I see a new brewery open up, because it just seems so cutthroat. It's almost like the restaurant world right now. And I kind of assimilate the craft distilling world with craft brewing back in like the mid 90s. Like by no means is it like a new concept, but we still have so much room to explore and create and play with these recipes. Like there's so much to be done that hasn't been done yet, that it creates this culture in the craft distilling world that's, and I'm not in the craft brewing world, but I'd assume it's a little bit more cutthroat just because there's that much more competition. There's that much more that's already been done. And the craft distilling world's just, kind of building in and still has so much room to create that we're not trying to be, we don't have to be cutthroat. We don't have to be as cutthroat. And so it's great that it creates this community that I love working in. I worked before this, I was in the cannabis industry, and it was such a different feel. Like it was so, everyone's keeping their cards close to the vest. Like people were just jerks. And that's not who I am. And I didn't respond well to that kind of industry. So it was such a breath of fresh air going into the craft distilling world and talking to people and then being like, oh, here's some best practices. Oh, have you tried this? It's the open communication has been wonderful.
In cannabis, are you chasing trends as much as I would assume you're chasing trends in a lot of ways, the same way in craft beer, right? Like there's,
that's a good question. I left that world, like 4 years ago. So, in 4 years, it's
who knows?
It's 20 years different than when I was there, equivalency, right?
Dog years, yeah.
It was more kind of honing down the processes and getting like really the honing the grow equipment and the kind of the power usage and whatnot. Now I think it's really changed. So I have no idea what that world looks like.
But you guys, I
So-
mean, nobody here is really, you're not really chasing a trend. I mean, every taste is unique, and it depends on what time of the day and what day it is that you want you want a Deer Hammer, or you want a Lock and Co, or you want a Bear Creek, right? Like there's literally, when I go to the liquor store as a consumer, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. That's, I always drink IPAs. It's what I drink. But for a whiskey, I think it's just it's different. It's a different kind of animal, and it's what you want to taste and what you want to pull out at a given time of year, or a given day of the week, I guess. Jay Schrader, what were you going to say?
Yeah, Jay Schrader. That's right. The one and only. You guys, a lot of downtime. Rick was talking about experiment and collaborate and things like that. Anybody got anything cooking in the books right now that we should be looking out for in 6 months or a year? Anything new? I mean, you guys have plenty of time to brainstorm. Jay Johnson's always got a new. Yeah, I knew it.
I don't. It's a little early to talk about it, but it's more on the clear side of things than it is on the matured side of things. So hopefully, if things go that way, probably Father's Day ish, maybe 4th of July ish.
Is it hand sanitizer?
Yeah, Everclear.
Well, that was going to be my. I was gonna ask. That was gonna be my next question: is who's gonna put on a line of sanitizer next? So, and I think that's a fair question, right? Update your revenue streams a little bit. Add something else if you can make it work. But so Father's Day brunch at Bear Creek Distillery.
Sure, come on by. Hopefully we'll be out, but it's we're not reinventing the wheel or anything. It's just kind of something different, a little more affordable for the masses. So it'll still be a Bear Creek distilled product. So we're not stepping out of the lanes of procuring spirits from other folks. We're still doing our thing. You know, I'm not disparaging people that do it that way, but that's not the way we've always done it. So we'll keep true to how we do it. So
is it called Bear Claw?
That was one of our things, like a shot of our white whiskey poured into a White Claw is a Bear Claw.
Oh, that's good.
I would drink that. I would, at this point, we're experimenting in so many different ways in my house. I chopped up celery for the kids' lunch today, and Tanya goes, "Oh, are you making Bloody Marys?" Like, she didn't even stop. And I was like, "I can. Do you want to do your 1:00 Zoom call with your students with a Bloody Mary in the background?" She thought about it for a second.
I'd say yes, but
they're kindergartners.
For the record, they're not going to know either way. Mango White Claw is actually pretty fucking good. That's the only one I like.
So
my dog just farted. Sorry. That smells terrible.
Isn't it Oscar Blues has their own line of seltzers that those are pretty legit actually too. So don't be afraid. I've coached entire lacrosse tournaments on White Claws and Truly seltzers. So
yeah, you're a pillar of humanity though. So you gotta be careful.
The moms don't judge me as much if I'm stealing from them.
No, they like the claw. Gents, out of respect for your time, what do you want us to do over the next week? How do we want to plug this? What do you want to tell people who somehow, for some reason, still listen to this podcast and follow us on social? How can we help sales?
I mean, go ahead.
Go away.
I would say, it's definitely happening in terms of people buying Colorado products, but I guess I would just remind the public that what's happening in Colorado distilling, Colorado whiskey in particular, is fucking awesome. Like we've grown up a lot over the years, and there's awesome stuff coming out of the state, and the rest of the country / world is taking notice. I mean, if you haven't tried something from Colorado in a long time, pick something up, give it a shot. It's all good now. It always has been, but it's even better now.
Getting better now.
No, but spend that extra $1, like the extra $5 just to buy something that you know where it came from. I think that's so important.
And let's be real here. A bottle of whiskey is a ridiculously good value. I mean, it's not like I'm all about drinking a 6-pack of beer, but I do it in 1 or 2 days at most. Your bottle of whiskey can sit there for a long time. That's
an investment.
Share that with friends. Yeah, hang on to it. Compare it with other stuff. Buy a whole slew of Colorado whiskeys. Compare Lock and Co. and Bear Creek and Deer Hammer. And everyone else.
I think the Unfiltered guys need to curate a box set from this group right here.
That would be cool.
I'm sure we can make that happen.
I think that'd be fucking sweet, and then figure out a way to sell it.
It'd be awesome.
This is
do
why
s-
I'm on the show. Just the ideas. That's it.
We could do some
Yeah,
virtual
guy.
The idea guy.
Zoom barrel picks.
There you go.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Got a few.
What
I
else?
guess if-
Hey, I got to.
I was going
He's
to say,
doing
if
it.
I were going to throw my 2 cents in there, you know, remember when you're ahead of the PTA and you called and asked for a bottle donation, or you asked for a tour package, or you were for any number of nonprofit organizations that have asked a lot from us as an industry, that when you go to the store to buy a bottle, you remember who was there for you when you needed it.
And
you
That's a
Jay
really
Johnson.
good point.
Jay Johnson is an involved dad. Not to say that the rest of you are asshole dads, but Jay Johnson is there for all of his kids' games and everything else. I guarantee that poor bastard has donated a bottle or two in his day. So hopefully some of those parents on the PTA, some of those softball moms and dads are listening, because spend an extra couple of bucks. You don't have to buy Jameson or Gut Rot. Buy something that means something to this community.
right.
Also, we haven't talked about this, at least while I've been on the air, but we did this with our breweries a couple of weeks ago. Are you guys all selling your swag online? Can people snag
Oh,
hats
yeah,
and
good point.
t-shirts and
Good point.
stuff?
Yeah.
Because you know what? Now is as good a time as any to rep your brewery or your distillery or your seltzery, whatever. And if you guys are still operating in a way that you can ship some of your shit out, push that. Help us help you push that too, because I have rotated every single fucking brewery hat and t-shirt I've got in my collection, and it's been a fun journey actually. So have some of these people do some of that shit themselves, or brand a buff. Owen.
That's right. That's right. I'll work on it.
I mean, the best thing about this is that Owen doesn't have to watch Colorado football this year.
Oh man, it still hurts. The whole deal still hurts. I'll tell you. Midnight Mel. I don't know, man. That's
Rick or Owen, do you have anything to add to that, boys? I mean, that we can do to help out?
I should, I just thank you for kind of bringing, distilleries and breweries and kind of the whole, that community together, and I think keep supporting local, and, I think if we support each other, that's going to really help and go a long way. I mean, obviously, love all the stuff that's on out there right now, and just spreading the love. Try this, try that. Have you heard of these guys? Supporting everybody out there. There's enough room for us, right? So we all need the love, right? So I think that's a good vibe to send out there.
Yeah, and I'd say like the last piece for consumers, getting out there supporting local is, when you're doing those to-go orders from those local restaurants and eateries, don't forget to ask what local spirits they have, because they're doing to-go cocktails. Ask for that Deer Hammer, ask for that Bear Creek, ask for that Lock and Co. cocktail, and they'll make it up to go, and you can bring it home and enjoy it with that to-go local dinner.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I mean, so many people are doing the delivery or the to-go food. Why not get a local whiskey or a local spirit in there instead of a Smirnoff, right? Or a Jack Daniels or something like that. That's a really good point.
Pair local with local, right?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Jay Schrader,
Guys,
do you have anything to add?
No, nothing specific.
Nothing specific.
I'm mesmerized by the clouds moving behind me.
Someone's
That
butt is
was a
kicking
big
in.
background.
I had a corn dog for lunch and that was it. So a little Lock and Co. and I'm halfway through 90 shilling and a shitty work conference call to kick it off. I'm in good shape.
A
So-
corn
Cloud
dog.
is shaped like a COVID virus.
Yeah. The 8 miles that I rode on the stationary this morning at 15 miles an hour are not going to offset the amount of alcohol I consumed tonight. So it's just going to keep my heart from exploding enough. That's the key. No, nothing
Moderation.
on this end. Moderation. Yeah. 7 miles tomorrow, not 8. Guys, hey, sorry I was late, but thank you for joining us. Cheers to everybody. Deer Hammer's on my list. I'm going to the liquor store right after this. Because why not?
Nice.
Guys, keep doing what you're doing. Text Sam. Don't text me. I don't know what the hell's going on this podcast. But Sam will tell me what to tell everybody else, and we'll get you guys going. Okay?
I'm wondering, as a teaser, Jay Schrader, if we shouldn't try to sell all these guys merchandise through our website, not the SIP website, through our own website. Should talk to you
Well,
guys.
that's what I'm thinking. Like the box,
Yeah.
the curated box set is
Yeah.
fucking genius. By the way,
Yeah.
pure genius. It doesn't.
Well, I got to we get through SIPFest, everybody. By the way, Owen Locke and Rick Talley, thank you for donating to that. Lenny and Jay did nothing. So sorry, guys.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
No. Really, we just surpassed $5,000 about 2 minutes ago. So it's been a crazy 24 hours, but maybe we should do something like that for the Colorado distillery community.
You guys
What
want to
do you
do
think on
like
this?
a massive Colorado distillery cheers? How do we do that?
should.
Like, I mean, a tasting or a.
I like that. There's been that like Howl at the Moon at 8:00. Have you guys been doing that, Lenny? Have you seen that down in your area?
Well, it happened last night, right? Yeah, my kid was outside and he came running in terrified. He had no idea what was going on. I thought it was hilarious.
But my kids were like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "It's okay, but you could do a whiskey Howl at the Moon cheers at 8:00 and do something like that. Where like we're all howling for each other, get involved with the wolf pack type thing. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That's actually, we could steal it from Wash Park and add whiskey to the equation, and we're set.
Yep.
Let's think on it. All right, gentlemen, one last cheers. Thank you so much. Be safe, be well, keep your families well, and keep making this wonderful sweet nectar that you make. All right.
Love the
Stay safe,
juice,
guys.
boys.
All right,
Cheers.
bye guys. Take care.
Stay safe,
See ya.
fellas.